Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mission Motherhood Show, brought to you by Cheri's Choice. I'm Cheri Bergeron, your host for today, and I'm so excited to have Flavia De Prezzo with us. We're going to have a wonderful conversation. We have very aligned missions. Each week, we explore the challenges ambitious women have navigating their path to motherhood on their own terms and their own timelines. And, this is right in line with Flavia's passion. So I know this is going to be an incredible conversation. Let me introduce you to her first. Flavia is the founder of Sopotion, a platform helping women navigate fertility treatment abroad with clarity and confidence. With an Italian law degree and 8 years in international pharmaceutical business development, Flavia spent a decade reading clinical data and navigating regular environments across Europe. In October 2024, she froze her own eggs, yay, good for you, and discovered that even with all her professional tools, the process was lonely, confusing, and under-supported. I totally agree. That experience led her to spend 12 months researching over 100 clinics across Europe, building the resource she wished that had existed: honest, legally informed, medically literate guidance from someone who has actually been through it. I absolutely love that. And taking all of your learnings and making it available for others. So, obviously your work has been shaped tremendously by your personal experience. Can you share a bit of that history with us?
Yes, thank you, Cheri, for the intro. I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, as you mentioned, literally 2 years ago, after lots of market research across all Europe, I made a decision to freeze my eggs. And it's been quite difficult, even though with my background, I start to call all clinics, I start to get a very different answer for the same questions. And even though you will think about it in Europe, like in Spain and Italy, which is very, let's say, same cultural countries, I will get the same answer. But it was very complex. Legislation was very complex. The prices as well for the process or even for the medicine were complex. So I started to create a massive Excel spreadsheet with all clinics, with all prices, and figured out where actually I want to do the egg freezing. And then during this process, I felt so lonely. I started to self-doubting a lot if actually was the right decision for me. I do believe egg freezing is a huge like a taboo topic, in particular in Italy as well, where there is a very strict regulation about frozen eggs. But yeah, after lots of self-doubting and lots of research, finally I made a decision to do my own freezing in Spain. And even though I felt like I was prepared for the whole process, actually I wasn't. So I couldn't really share the experience with my parents as well. I felt like even with my friends, no one did the egg freezing, surrounding a culture where everybody in their 30s already have been married or kids. So do felt very like lonely, depressed, miserable.
Isolated, really, yeah.
Yeah, during the hormone injection. And also the clinic I picked wasn't very, really didn't really help me, even with the emotional support. And while I was going through the hormone injection, there I felt very kind of depressed, and they were giving me the right support. They were like, yeah, it's normal, it's your hormonal imbalance. So that I felt like, well, this shouldn't be like that, right?
Deal with it. Deal with it. It's normal.
Exactly. So I was like, well, that's not very professional from one that I thought, right, the top 10 clinics in Spain. And then even after done the egg freezing, I found the recovery time quite complex as well. I didn't feel good mentally, in particular, physically. I gained some weight as well. And this is where everything started to me to feel like, oh my God, I don't want another woman to go through to the same process without support, emotional
Guidance.
support,
Yeah.
guidance, in
Yes. Yes.
nothing. Even though we know are the best clinics ever in Europe, as yeah. So I believe my experience was not great, and this is what made me like. I do really want to make a change. I do really want to make an impact. Every woman should choose a good clinic, but also, right, feel supported, also knows that at the end of the process, there are some peace of mind and not self-doubting if actually was the right decision to do it. So yeah, that's my experience during my own egg freezing journey.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. And I've seen studies that say that only 1% of women freeze their eggs at this time. And so while it's talked about, it's a very small minority of women who do this. And, I think what's interesting too is you have been in the legal field, and that's one of the fields where I think, ambitious women are particularly at risk, just like physicians and things like that. If you have longer education and then you're pursuing partner at a firm and things like that, they're very demanding careers, and that can make this even more critical to be proactively thinking about it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And most of the women, like myself included, I was procrastinated. Every year was the next year because, I have this job is too demanding. I don't feel I have the time. Oh, maybe next year I will find the right partner. So yeah, things at some point will unfold with me. And then, yeah, it's totally agree. Even, we're in 2026. And most of the people actually don't even know what actually, in particular men, what actually is egg freezing. And I do believe women are so afraid to take the chance. As we know, egg freezing is not a safety net. It's not, like an insurance 100%, but earlier you do, better it is. With the right support, you can actually have, kind of 9% of success rate if you do earlier and optimizing the process. So it's like, why in 2026 is still a taboo? Why we women procrastinated too much? Because yeah, we feel like we are too busy, we're on job, we plan everything, but when it's come from fertility, which is a huge important topic, we just now let's deal later on.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
I know it's true. I think it's so complex because one, our culture is telling us to go and pursue our careers, and we have wonderful opportunities, and there's no easy pause button on that. I think the other thing is we take our fertility for granted. We think, of course, we are just going to be able to have a child, especially if our family that we came from, they didn't have any particular issues. We sort of take those things for granted. I know I did. But then there's also this complex emotional, psychological thing that says egg freezing feels like giving up in some way. So did you have those kinds of emotions?
Yeah, I want to be honest. I think before actually going through the process, yeah, I was like, maybe I give up on something. But while I was actually during the process, I felt like, no, no, actually, I'm not giving up. Actually, I'm making sure that I'm controlling my future in the best way I can.
Exactly.
And then whatever life is gonna happen to me, at least I have some options in place rather than don't have any. And unfortunately, I believe many women feel like freezing their eggs means I give up on love, I give up or whatever is gonna happen to be. But actually, no, you're not giving up. You give yourself options.
I agree with that so much. And I think I was mentioning it because I think it's a fallacy in our thinking that somehow this is giving up. Today, think modern feminism, modern female empowerment is about being able to be proactive, about not just the direction of our career, but the direction of our families. And I think that, I've heard other women say, I don't want to have regret. And I think that one of the things here, and you talk about it so much in your LinkedIn post, is regret. And that this is just one more step that you can take to provide maybe some greater chance and some more self-determination, and frankly, a bit of freedom over the timing. Because for me, I ended up using an egg donor because I was 40. I had thought that, I might need a little bit of medical assistance. But when I got to the clinic, they told me that really my options were quite limited, that my biological clock was ticking faster than the average. And I tried using my own eggs, but ultimately my body, after a couple failed, we didn't go through IVF completely, we're trying IUI. My body just gave up. My body, it was like trying to, jumpstart an old classic car. It felt like, and it was not going to take that next sort of big push. And so at some points, our bodies just aren't able to do what we want to do. But then when I learned about egg donors, I learned that if I use the eggs of a younger woman, hence the importance of freezing your eggs when you're young, then even in later years of carrying a child, your odds of a pregnancy are right about the same as hers. I found that mind-blowing. I mean, I had my children at 44 and 2 weeks from my 47th birthday using younger eggs. And so I want the audience to know that you are your own, egg donor per se. You are storing those for your own future. And you could have children in your 40s and have them in a healthy, healthy pregnancy. I mean, no guarantees, obviously, but this is the kind of insurance policy that you are investing in, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I find crazy when some women come to me, they are 25, and they think, oh, I'm very too young, right? And I actually, no, it's the right time.
Yeah.
It's perfect. If you store it in your 25, you really get the chance in your 40, even later 40, to actually get pregnant. So please do now, not like me 10 years later in your 35. So the chance is much, much lower. And unfortunately, I want to say the older women come 25, they don't actually freeze their eggs. They feel like, no, I'm gonna give myself another 5 years. And I can't pursue them because everybody has to make their own decision. But yeah, it's a very misinformation, unfortunately. So they think, right now it's like a common knowledge that you should freeze your eggs in your 30s. But actually, no, you should freeze your eggs in your 20s, not in your 30s. And what I found crazy is here in Europe in particular, the GP don't recommend to do egg freezing before 30s. They actually are very kind of give obstacles to women to do that. And I do find why there is this kind of, behavior.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's because culturally there is lots of taboo, Catholic as well. So there are lots of stigma.
Yeah.
And it's as we said, right? It's a very complex topic.
It is. So I often talk about the focus on sex education in schools. What we're taught as young women, at least in the US, is abstinence, contraception, avoiding sexually transmitted disease. The big message is don't get pregnant. It's taught in middle school, high school. Is this true also in Europe? Do young women get this kind of message in school?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, yes, in Europe we have this kind of message as well. And also in many countries that is the religion impacts as well, right?
Right.
So
wait until
concept.
marriage, all of those kinds of things. And there's nothing wrong with those messages. The problem is there is no place where we are taught about fertility, right? There's no place in our education system in college or elsewhere where they're saying, look, here are the realities of fertility timelines, and here are family building options. I would assume that is also true in Europe.
But in Europe, there is nothing about that. And I do believe fertility preservation should be one of the most important topic, right? One of the most important topic, and there is nothing about, literally zero. So we really have to change, the education system. It's gonna take a while, I believe, before the schools will end up with the preservation, right, about fertility, about health in general as well.
Yeah, well, through Cheri's Choice, I'm starting to go to colleges, so you can invite me to Europe and
Oh my God,
talk about it there.
oh my God. I
I'm
would
very
love that.
passionate about that, and speaking with a number of universities here. So we should
Wow.
talk about that. But one of the things that you talk about is the importance of not settling for less than you deserve in a romantic relationship, driven by our biological clocks, and that this is something that you can also have a greater self-determination if you know that you've frozen your eggs. Did you experience any of these kinds of thoughts? And obviously you didn't get swayed by that. I personally did. I married someone I shouldn't have and spent 8 years in a relationship trying to make that work, then only to become a single mother by choice later. But what was your experience?
Yeah, and there my first is I choose probably the wrong relationship ever. So to be with, and I choose this person just because I really want to become a mother, and that's the reality. Unconsciously, I felt that this guy was kind of safe and maybe could be, the right person to raise kids. But the reality was like, I want to become a mother, and I felt this guy could be the right partner. I was pushing myself in this kind of relationship. And then when I broke up, I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this because actually I want to become a mother, not because I was in love with this guy, not because there was the alignment. And when actually I did the egg freezing, I was in an early relationship, and deep down, even then, I knew that the person was with wasn't probably the person I'm gonna have kids. And when I done the egg freezing and I broke up as well with this person, I do now feel so empowered. I mean, right now, I don't really have a pressure, to be honest, or dating. I feel like if it's gonna come, it's gonna come. If not, maybe one day I will become a single mother by choice. So it's leave lots of pressure, I want to say, to the egg freezing. So it's actually, yeah, if in terms of choosing the right partner, it's given another tool to be more clear, even with the selection, if actually you want to be with a partner.
I agree with that so much. And for me, when I was dating someone, the big decision or the catalyst for a breakup was often, do I see myself having children with this person? And then I found myself married, and I realized that I did not want my children to experience this as the example of a loving relationship, because there wasn't respect, there wasn't trust, there wasn't a shared value system. I came to learn over time. And so I actually feel that raising the children by myself, consistent with my values, is teaching them much better than being in that wrong household would have been. And so, I want to encourage women to, I think you've said it great, that it's a tool. This is a tool that provides some freedom to be able to explore relationships for what they are, for the merits of the relationship and the partnership. And I think that is so important to have that be separate from this very urgent sense that I have to achieve motherhood within a certain timeline.
Totally. So please freeze your eggs.
Yeah, so of course, that's the big message from this. And so you ultimately did freeze your eggs, and you talked about some of the issues in the process. So how has that shaped your current mission, and what do women experience when they're working with you?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, they don't need to call 100 free clinics in the Europe or wherever they are. I really help them with the selection of clinics based on the success rate, the budget, and the location is the women. But also, I provide a nutritional supplement workbook, something that when I did my own egg freezing, I didn't have. And unfortunately, I didn't optimize my process. So having, this workbook is gonna help to actually start the right diet and optimize in the best ways possible the egg freezing. Also, know what to do next, because most of the women, myself included, when I started to research the egg freezing, I didn't know when I will freeze my eggs, what I will do next. As in Europe, there are different regulations. There are countries where you can, unfortunately, you can do the IVF if you are a single woman or if you are homosexual. So for these couples, they are homosexual or single women, they already know they want to be single mother by choices. I really advise a country where it's actually legal to do that. So like in Italy is illegal, so all the Italians come to me and say, don't freeze your eggs in Italy, because, if you want to become a single mother choice, you're not going to be able to do it. So I do provide, the best information for the next step as well. So optimizing the process. I do provide emotional support, that the support that I didn't have. As I said, I was self-doubting myself. I was very lonely. So I do provide, WhatsApp. They actually do egg freezing with me during the hormone injection. They feel like they can't really talk with no one. They maybe didn't tell to their family or their friends. I'm actually the person that is with them during the process. So yeah, I do provide, let's say, everything from logistically, from USA to do egg freezing and in Spain, preparing your body mentally as well, and physically, and even provide emotional support as well.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you're really being kind of a comprehensive guide for this process. And you mentioned about the diet and really the importance of sort of detoxifying your body prior to this kind of process, because the eggs that you will ultimately be harvesting are impacted by your last 3 months of lifestyle. And so that was a revelation to me, and that there are proactive things that you can do, and things even like our makeup and our perfumes and things like that can have negative impacts, as well as stress and loss of sleep. And all of these things, because our body is one coordinated effort, and our reproductive system is a central part of that. So yeah, I mean, those kinds of considerations are really important if you're going to make this kind of investment, to go ahead and consider the healthiest choices prior to doing that. So that's great. And you did mention that there are vastly different costs for different countries, and you've looked into that. And so I know in the States, we have kind of this medical tourism thought that we can get good quality care at lower costs other places. So what have you found about that?
In USA, you mean, or in Europe?
In Europe, of course. I'm just
Yeah, in
in Europe. Yeah.
I mean, in Europe, the difference is quite crazy, and in particular in UK, is much more expensive egg freezing in compare Spain or Italy, and North Europe is a little bit more expensive than UK, but still, kind of very accessible price. But yeah, there are lots of difference in Europe. Like in France, is free if you are French and you do before you're 37, you are on
Wow.
your 70. Yeah, it's they provide a
Yay, France.
reimburse.
Yeah, I'm French in
Yeah,
origin, so good for us.
yeah, exactly. So if you are French or are French residents, you have the chance to actually do egg freezing if you are less than 37. I found amazing that. But also in UK, even though it's expensive in compare Europe, you can still do egg freezing for free. If there is like a scheme, egg freezing scheme, it's called, of course, there are some requirements which you have to fit in. But if you are less than 34, you have a chance to do for free, even in UK. So I do find it can be, every country expensive, but with the right information in Europe, this is very accessible. And of course, Spain is the country where is the most accessible ever, with the cheapest price, even instead to buy Louis Vuitton and in a small one in Spain, you can do your egg freezing. So it's quite I do find it's quite accessible in compare you say. So when the women come to me, European, and tell me, oh, I don't have 10,000 euros, I'm like, ragazza, we say in Italian, don't worry, you don't need the 10,000 euros. I mean, unless you want to do 5 cycles, but it's
Wow.
not that expensive. So
That's
yeah, there
great.
is a lot of misinformation about the budget of egg freezing in Europe. Yeah.
And I'm also so excited. We were talking before the show that in 2027, Cheri's Choice is going to start offering egg freezing grants. And so stay tuned for more information about that. But I think that there's a wonderful opportunity for us to partner on that. So we will
Great.
continue that conversation. And so another big topic in Europe is surrogacy. Some countries permit it and some don't. And does that align very much to the where the barriers are for egg freezing? Does that track fairly similarly?
Well, unfortunately, surrogacy is completely illegal in all Europe, apart Ukraine. Yeah, apart Ukraine, Georgia, and you will feel like, well, yeah, it's completely legal for compensation. There are two different kind of legal system. In the UK, is very restrict and they call the altruist
Yes.
surrogacy.
Right. Without no
Uh,
cost. Yeah.
Exactly, no cost. But even there is a lot of limitation, a very regulation. So for a woman, a European woman, to do egg freezing in Europe, it's very, very difficult. So I know that Spanish women, they want to do surrogacy. Most of the time, they actually go to Mexico, which I know is the most expensive or accessible. And so it's quite hard, to be honest, to do it. I mean, in Italy and Spain and Germany, it's completely legal. So even with no compensation, you won't be able to do a surrogacy. So when the women come to me and they think about it, can you help me with the surrogacy? Of course, I can, but it's quite complex, the process. Even in the few countries, as I mentioned, like UK, where you could do it, it's very complex even to find the carrier. And you have to have like a court verdict approval
Oh, wow.
to actually do the fertility treatment for the carrier. So it's quite complex, and Italy is not and Europe is not something very common. It's more American, in American, as we know, is more common. I do believe in the next 50 years, probably, there's gonna be less restriction, but in the next 10 years, it's not gonna happen. It's
Wow.
very, very straight.
That
Yeah.
is, I've been learning so much more about surrogacy, and I think that there are perceptions that women are like, well, I just don't want to have the inconvenience of pregnancy or impacting my body and how it looks and things. That largely this is a medical issue. Or we think
Yeah.
about, gay men who who want to be parents and have no other choice. And I mean, that just breaks my heart that there are those kinds of barriers still in widely across Europe. That we're in Pride Month right now, and that just makes me really sad.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we can't fix everything. We can't.
Yeah,
Our
we
world
try to
isn't
make an
perfect.
impact, right? I mean, the only thing we can do, we try to make an impact, spread awareness, but we can't change the system overnight, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, as we are wrapping up, what are any sort of parting words that you would want to give to women who are listening, and from your experience working with other women, what advice would you give them?
I think the first advice will be to admit where you are in life and trying to be honest with yourself and to feel like, I do need to provide myself an option. Let's try to don't be afraid, overthinking too much for option that there are out there, like egg freezing, and trying to take the first step. And the first step is please do the AMH test. Please check how many eggs you have left. Even though if you are 25, even though if you are 37, just get the data because it's so important. With this data, you can make every decision you can, but just please do one step. One small step
Yes.
is check it, and with that information, think about what to do next. Don't just overthink and do nothing and waiting that everything is gonna work out. I mean, I wish everything is gonna work out for all women that are gonna listen. Really, I do wish that. But like, for example, for me, things didn't work out and I wanted, but right now I'm very happy with myself. I love what I'm doing every day. I wake up and I feel like, okay, I can make some impact. And if love is gonna come, I'm gonna be happy. If it doesn't, we'll make a different decision on the go. So just please be no afraid and trying to plan a little bit more about your fertility because it is as most important thing as much as your career, as your business, but fertility as well is gonna be so important. So just please do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, having had a successful career, I got to a point where I was not I knew that the work I was doing, while I enjoyed it, was not going to have a long lasting impact. I mean, let's face it, the work we do is satisfying, it meets our needs, but what is the legacy of our career? For many of us, there's not a very significant legacy. I'm in the software business. They can replace me, in 2 weeks. And we know this. We know that we as workers are replaceable. When we invest our time in things like our mission and our families and things like that, that leaves a much more lasting legacy. At least that's what I realized. And this is a decision that every woman needs to make for herself. I'm not trying to say there was one path. I think what we're saying is give yourself as many options, as many paths as possible, because you deserve that. And so any other final thoughts that you would like to share?
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna watch even guys or men. What something I want to say is like there is no awareness or information from the male side of the world,
Yeah.
and if there are women that are actually with someone but they don't want to have kids right now, they want to have kids in the next 5 years. Have a supportive partner will be great, right? And so I do believe that what I'm trying to do as well is to provide information to the men out there, because they should be, aware of that process as well, not just women. They, even your brother, I mean, it's not about a partner. Even my brother, he knows now what is egg freezing. He should know all the information. My father as well. Doesn't mean, I mean, I'm single, I don't have a partner, but the point is, it's important even to inform our brothers, our cousins, because they're part as well of these important conversations. It's not just about us as women, but as men should be
Very true.
involved as well. It doesn't matter if they are not the romantic partner, but the information should be out there for them as well.
Very true. It's an education that everyone needs. And by the way, there are some shows on Cheri's Choice that you can listen to that are specifically about male fertility. And so I would love to invite you to watch those. We have one with the CEO of Legacy, who provides sperm testing at home and sperm freezing and all of those kinds of things. By the way, sperm also has a biological clock, even if it is not as dramatic as women's. And so, very important point. You're right. It's definitely, there are definitely two components to this, and we can't, we don't talk about male fertility enough. But Flavia, thank you so much. I just feel like you're a kindred spirit, and I love the work that you're doing. And I know that there are going to be ways that we will work together in the future. Be sure to check out, everyone, the resources on Cheri's Choice. And I always want to leave you with this one thought. If you feel that it is part of your purpose to be a mother, you can absolutely make that happen. It might look different than you expected, but it can still be beautiful. And so I just want to reassure you that with knowledge, courage, determination, and a village that loves you, all things are possible. So until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you.